Go ahead, Bill.
Advanced persistent threat is a term of art. It was coined by the Air Force in 2008 to describe an attack pattern which they had noted and observed, and which they believed to be emanating perhaps from other nation states. It's a term of art in the sense that you can't take the words literally. You need to keep them in quotes. I generally talk about it always in singular. It came into the security jargon when Google used it to describe attacks against themselves earlier this year. These attacks are advanced in the sense that they are both coordinated and multi-phased. The phases begin with target selection and vulnerability identification and go all the way through domain contamination and information exfiltration to intelligence analysis and finally exploitation. These attacks are also advanced in the sense that there are knowledge, skills, and abilities specific to each phase. It's unlikely that any single individual is going to be expert in each phase. One guy crafts the bait, while another selects the malicious code, while somebody else does the intelligence analysis, and finally somebody else exploits the information, perhaps by setting up a business in competition with you. The attack is persistent in the sense that it continues through all the necessary phases, and these phases may be separated in time by weeks to months and even years when you count the time required to exploit the intelligence. It's also persistent in the sense that a given target is under continuous attack until the attack source has gotten the information that it wants to have. While the term really refers to an attack, it has rate, it's almost continuous, and it has a source. So we can infer a threat source from all of that. Is this something that your enterprise needs to worry about? Is your enterprise a target of advanced persistent threat? The short answer is that if you're a Fortune 500 enterprise with intellectual property, you're probably a target of choice of one or more nation states. If you are a financial services company or a payment card industry service provider, you're a target of choice for an ongoing, continuing criminal enterprise. This isn't to say that the rest of us might not be targets of opportunity for these threat sources, but only that their attacks against us are not persistent or continuing. Individuals may be victims of payment card fraud, but it is the enterprise, the bank, that's the real target. It would be nice if one could detect such attacks early. Then you'd at least know whether you were a target, and you'd know that you had to be doing something about it. In practice, it turns out to be very difficult to detect these attacks early because they begin with relatively low-intensity events. Somebody is not going to come in and probe all 64,000 of your ports in a few minutes. Rather, what they're going to do is they're going to probe ports of interest to them over an extended period of time so that you never feel as though you are on attack. Similar is true with the bait messages. We are accustomed to bait messages that are relatively easy to recognize, and we then know what to do about it. But these bait messages are likely to be extraordinarily well crafted. They are likely to appear to come from someone that you already know and trust. They will be specifically addressed to individuals within your enterprise or organization. If they're not artfully crafted, they're not going to be effective for this purpose. There will be a sufficient number of them, but they won't come all at once. They will get spread out over time so that you will not be able to detect the fact that you're under attack. It's somewhat easier to automate the attack, or the detection of those later phases of the attack. Have your systems been contaminated? But it may also be too late. Note that while the compromise of your intellectual property may be a threat to the health and continuity of your enterprise, the consequences may not be limited to your enterprise. They may include damage to the vitality and growth of our economy, and perhaps even to homeland security. Under such situations, in this light, best efforts or hit and miss security is not good enough. Defense in depth must be the order of the day. It's no longer acceptable for us to have a situation in which our network can be compromised, our enterprise can be compromised, when one privileged and capable person clicks on a single bait message. Rather, we need to have multiple layers and multiple compartments. We have to push our defenses up and out. We have to pull our resources in and down. We must make sure that we have adequate layers and adequate compartments so that no single individual is able to compromise our entire network. Most of you are probably not going to be targets of these, but you will hear the jargon, and it's important for you to understand that it is jargon. The words taken literally probably really don't describe what we're concerned about. You need to look at the whole collection of things. I hope you find this as helpful to you and useful in your own day-to-day activities. Thanks a lot.